Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of At the Movies with William Fletcher. As per usual, I am your host, William Fletcher, and for this week's episode, I am joined, of course, by Harry Jobson, as I always am most of the time.
Hello.
And for this week's episode, we are going to be discussing Inside Out, to tie into the release of Inside Out 2, which is coming out this week. We're going to talk about the first Inside Out film. I didn't. So sort of for my history of this film, I'd seen it before. I've seen it a couple times before. I didn't see this at the cinema. I think when this had come out, well, I was very much like in that stage of like
12?
11, 12 years old, where I didn't really like watching like kids films. I guess like I wasn't. I was like in that age of like where I pretended like I didn't like Star Wars and that kind of thing.
Oh, I was watching this with my baby cousin, but secretly enjoying it. I was like, oh, do we have to watch Inside Out? Fine, we will. I didn't obviously see it in the cinemas either, but it got chucked on the family TV, and I sat down and watched the whole thing, and I was like, ooh. I may have cried a little bit then.
Yeah, so we've touched on Pixar in the past. Earlier this year, in fact, like a couple of months ago, we did The Incredibles, which Harry and I were both big fans of the first Incredibles. The second one, less so, but Inside Out. I think I said maybe in that Incredibles episode. I feel like I've said it on the podcast before. Pixar as a studio very much peaked with sort of Toy Story 3, like post Toy Story 3, from Cars 2 onwards. It's been very much hit or miss as a studio. Like,
yeah,
like
Cars 2. And this is Pixar we're speaking about. Yeah, you do. You get some really great. Yeah, it's some really great hidden gems, and then you get like Turning Red.
Brave.
Brave. You also get Brave. But I think Inside Out is one of those ones where it's like, yeah, that's a good one. Like it's not WALL-E or Ratatouille, but it's a good one.
Yeah, I would say it's definitely one of the best Pixar films post Toy Story 3, sort of in their second. I would consider in their second sort of phase of producing films. I think from Toy Story to Toy Story 3 is sort of one block of like just
that's their peak,
banger
phase
after
one.
Banger. Yeah,
that's their Infinity Saga.
That's their end. It's the MCU where it's like you could end if they didn't make any more films after Toy Story 3, that would be fine. Like that, the story is told, and it's similar to, I guess, Marvel. Avengers Endgame is sort of a similar thing where it's like, well, we don't really need more film. I don't need more after Endgame, you know. And so, and then as happened with the Marvel Cinematic Universe and with Pixar's output, it becomes very hit or miss. Like good stuff, some very good stuff, in fact. Like Pixar's made some very good stuff post Toy Story 3, but nothing has hit the levels of Toy Story 3 and prior. Actually,
I think there's a few. You've got Inside Out. I'm not going to say Monsters University, although I do love Monsters University, low-key. Like Charlie Day and that as well. Hilarious. You've got Coco, which is a gorgeous, beautiful film. You've got
that is
Soul,
probably my favorite,
which is a great film.
Soul, Soul's really good. I liked Toy Story 4. I know some people are very down on Toy Story 4.
Didn't see it. Never seen it.
Oh, well,
I refuse to watch it.
To be honest, I will say, as much as I enjoy it, it doesn't need to exist. Like it does not need to. It didn't need to be made. We didn't need a fourth Toy Story, and they're making a fifth one now, which that baffles me even more, because it's like Toy Story 4, at least there are things they are saying. Like there is still a bit of a story they could tell with that, but I don't know what the fuck they're gonna do with Toy Story 5, and they don't need a Toy Story 5. I think Pixar's very, very much scrambling right now, but yeah, I like Soul. Toy Story 4 I really liked. Coco is great, and Inside Out is sort of often held up as one of Pixar's best films. I think some people would even consider it like the top of their list, if not close to the top of their list. And I rewatched it last night for the purpose of this, because I hadn't seen it in a few years, and I want to stress this up front. I really enjoy it. I think there's a lot of really, really good stuff to it. It's just there are some flaws that really stood out to me on my rewatch of the film that pull it back from being, like all-time Pixar.
Yeah, and I don't. When it comes to Inside Out, I think it's a great original story. I think it's a really great concept as well, and it deals with quite a bit. But there are things that I'm like, that's, and maybe I'm coming from the point of view of like being a grown man. But when I look at some of the story beat, or even just some of the littler things like the environment they make for San Francisco and stuff, where I'm like, you probably could have done more here. But I understand a lot of it takes place within what, a 10-year-old girl's head, 12-year-old girl's head. Like, so that being said, also I think you can't have too much of a stacked cast, but sadness, joy, fear, disgust, and anger is like your only emotions is insane.
Yeah, I was having to think about this morning, or maybe even
Like,
last night.
are
I
you
was
just
like,
the most one-dimensional character ever? But each of them are their own character. That's why it like sort of plays into the whole. But I'd say like 10 different emotions fall under anger, and then like the same with sadness and fear and
I
joy. Like
think
they can all be broken
yeah, yeah,
down.
yeah. Yeah, that's the thing. I think the film. I understand the idea of like you can't have too many emotions because it's just the film's going to become too bloated. There's going to be too much going on. I understand that. Like I'm fully aware that like from a writing perspective, you don't want to have like there's so many more emotions that they could have had in this film. They just picked 5 stock standard emotions, but also 4
No,
negative emotions to 1 positive emotion. Like it is very weighted to the negative side of emotions, to be honest.
yeah, no, like they don't talk about that as well. Like Joy is carrying them on their back. Like she's the only one putting in work to like stop this woman from spiraling. But also like, and I think the world that they bid, like the islands, the different islands, I think it's a really cool visual representation, especially when you're at that age trying to figure out your own emotions. God, let's not get into the fading away because that almost makes me cry. I'm a grown man, and
Yeah.
I'm like, oh,
Yeah, no, I get what you're saying. Yeah, I think from the sort of perspective of ideas and concepts, there's so much imagination at play here with like visually and just which I guess is very telling of Pete Docter, the director, because it sort
yeah,
of is very
yeah,
much because his other Pixar films, Monsters Inc., Up, and Soul, all fit within that sort of similar bracket of there's just so much creativity and like beautiful ideas and great visuals as well.
the
Like
visual
Soul,
representation, yeah,
yeah, and what those films deal with as well. Like those films are very emotionally deep. Like Up.
yeah,
I mean, like the opening of Up is a montage of like a marriage that ends with one of the with a character dying. Like that's the like first 15-20 minutes of Up. Monsters Inc. He's Sully has to say goodbye to this child that he knows he'll never see again. And then you've got Soul is about
yeah,
death. Like Soul is literally about this person dying and what comes from that. And I think that's just very much what Pete Docter does with his films. And I think Inside Out is within that sort of similar ballpark of ideas. I think it's again, I think that there's some big flaws. I don't know if big flaws is necessarily what there are flaws with the film, but I think there's so much about it that I also do really enjoy. That means like I am noticing the flaws and they are docking a couple points off the film, but there is so much to love about the film that it does end up being on the positive side. Like I can sort of ignore the flaws and like not bother me while I'm watching. But if I was to look at it from sort of an objective point of view, I guess you could say there are problems with the film in terms of I think it's writing and sort of how it's structured. And I also found the humor to be a bit try hard. I felt like the humor was trying too hard to be funny. I feel like Pixar films are generally very good at blending humor into the films very naturally, whereas this film sort of felt like at times, oh, here's a bit where we can write in a joke.
Yeah, no, and I get that, and that's sort of like the whole broccoli thing. Like, I
I
never
was
found that
never that
funny, even as a
adverse
kid.
to broccoli when I was younger. I never
Broccoli's
was
great.
that.
Broccoli's up there in my top 10 foods. Like, broccoli is
I never,
good.
yeah, I never got that as a kid. I always sort of like, I didn't see problems with eating broccoli. I know it's sort of like a thing that happens, like people, like when you're a kid, you don't like broccoli, but I don't remember ever having that issue with broccoli. I did with like cauliflower. I think I had cauliflower.
Yeah.
Um,
I feel like,
Another thing.
honestly, and this is the film, and this is, if we're getting the negatives out of the way, again, this isn't going to be a long episode, I don't think. But if we're getting our negatives out of the way, I feel like everything that pretty much happens outside of her head only
Oh
happens
yeah.
for the reason of the thing. Like, for example, Joy is lost and everything, so the character in the real world runs away because she doesn't have joy,
Mm,
sort of thing. And I'm like, but
yeah.
it doesn't feel natural. It feels like you're only doing that to justify the story you want to tell. That's almost all inside her head. Like,
Mm,
a lot of the bulk of the story and core characters are the emotions in the head. So the
mm,
physical outside of the way she acts and who, like, the character is all based pretty much out of convenience of, like, oh well, we'll get her to do this because we're doing this in her head, and it feels like an
mm,
afterthought to me. Like, she doesn't feel like a very
yeah.
fleshed out character, but each individual character within her head is. But I do like a lot of the funniest stuff, like when it cuts to the other people's heads and their emotions, like the dad. I can't remember if that
Yeah.
was a short film or an ad for the second one, but that was funny. I remember laughing at that. Same with the
Mm,
mum as well, how it's all like versions of her, but her emotions.
yeah.
But I think, at least if we're focusing on the story that they're telling with the emotions, they do that really well. I just think almost everything outside of the main characters is kind of just dull and doesn't exist.
Yeah, no, that's sort of what I felt like. Whenever we're not dealing with the emotions in Riley's head, the rest of the film is kind of a bit boring. Is considerably less interesting to me.
Oh, yeah, way less interesting because, again, that's the point of the film. Yeah, that's my main, like, because to be honest, I watched this earlier this week. I'm
Mm.
struggling to remember the story beats that don't happen in her head.
I think it's definitely when it's not dealing with Riley's emotions directly, it's very much sort of like it's. I'm trying to think of another film that's in this bracket because there's definitely films where it's sort of made up of. Pulp Fiction's a good example. I love that film, but when it's the Bruce Willis storyline, I don't really care as much. I don't dislike the Bruce Willis stuff in Pulp Fiction. I'll make it clear, but I have much less interest in that when it cuts to the Bruce Willis stuff. I'm like,
It's
oh,
the same with
here's
Love
more.
Actually, kind of. There are certain bits in Love Actually that I just don't care for.
Mm.
That I'm like,
Yeah,
okay, get back to the story I care about.
yeah. I mean, you get that with anthology. Like Love Actually is like an anthology film, so there's obviously going to be stories that appeal to you more, I guess. Yeah. I mean, to talk about the cast a bit because we always talk about the cast. Amy Poehler as Joy. I think again, Pixar is very very good, and again, we've talked
At
about this
casting.
before. They're very good at casting like actors who aren't voice actors, but they fit. Like these actors are on the whole
Yeah, because I don't even
not
think about
voice
it being
actors.
Amy Poehler. Because when I think about it, like,
Mm,
yeah, you are right. Like, I know it's Amy Poehler, but when I think of Joy, I don't think of Amy Poehler. Like, I think of it as a separate character. And I am familiar with
yeah.
Amy Poehler's work. She's great in Blades of Glory, and I love Parks and Rec. Yeah, that's what Bill Hader is Fear.
Yeah, Bill Hader, fantastic for Bill Hader has just like that voice. Like he's got the voice that like it just translates to animation, I feel like he just even though he's not like a voice actor, he just has the voice, you know? Like he's just
Yeah,
got
they've gone for a real sort of early 2000s sitcom level cast here. They got Bill Hader, Mindy Kaling.
Yeah,
Amy
Mindy Kaling.
Poehler, Rashida Jones, Phyllis Smith. I can see where they got it. The sort of casting ideas from anyway. They all do a really great job.
Yeah, there's no voice that stands out to me. Like, again, with a lot of modern animated films, not all, but a lot, I just watch them and I'm like, well, I can just tell that's Chris Pratt, that's The Rock, that's Justin Timberlake. Like they don't become the characters. Whereas I think Pixar is very good at having actors become the characters. But yeah, Bill Hader, Mindy Kaling, Bill Hader and Mindy Kaling are not coming back for the second one. I don't know if you heard about.
No, I didn't. Who?
Okay, so what? So okay, so the film. So this happened like last year, I think, when they announced it. So they basically, Amy Poehler was offered, I think, $5 million to come back for the second one, and I think the rest of the cast were offered $100,000 to come back. And Bill Hader and Mindy Kaling said, "That's ridiculous. That's nothing. That's like barely any money." And then they basically turned it down and said, "We're not going to do it because we feel
Yeah.
like we're worth more." And then I think Disney changed their asking price and they offered them more money. And like, no, you should have offered us more to begin with, which is not unfair. So they've been recast for the second one. So it's Tony Hale as Fear and Lisa Lapira as Disgust. I mean, I'm
Okay.
familiar with
I feel
Tony
like
Hale.
especially Mindy Kaling has a really identifiable voice.
Yeah, Mindy Kaling's got a very distinctive voice. I feel like. I mean, Bill
So we'll
Hader
see how
does as
that
well.
goes.
Yeah, but I think Tony Hale he does have that similar vibe of like he can fit that role. It's just, is he gonna try and do a Bill Hader impression, or is he just gonna use his normal voice? Like that's the question, really. How they're gonna
Yeah.
address that, or if they will, because maybe they won't. But also, yeah, we've also got Richard Kind as Bing Bong, sort of the standout character. I feel like before I'd even seen this film, everybody was talking about Bing Bong and how his death was like super emotional and sad. And so again, I
Yeah.
hadn't seen the film at the time, so I didn't know what to expect. But then rewatching the film for the purpose of this, it's a very, yeah, no, I'll be honest, it did choke me up a little bit, that scene. It's a like
Oh, yeah, it gets me. It gets me.
Pixar is very, very good at crafting emotional scenes that make the audience choke up. Like they're very good at that. Like it's just sort of what they're known for, really, is getting an audience incredibly emotional into what is into their film. And I think it's a very powerful scene, although I think probably the more powerful scene is sort of at the end of the film when Riley, she's reunited with her parents, and
Yeah.
she's sort of given up this idea of running away, and it's very powerful scene where she's just sort of like, because I think this film really is like, it's sort of this whole thing of like, it's okay to be sad. Like the film makes it clear like that being sad is an okay thing to be. Like this idea of you have to always be happy, and like, I mean, that's the thing, is the whole film joy is like trying to keep Riley happy, but
Yeah.
which in turn blocks out sadness and the other sort of negative emotions, and it's like you need to have those emotions sometimes. And I think it's a very uh for essentially what is a film aimed at a generally family audience, like a kids audience, it's a very deep and powerful message to tell. Like this idea of you can't sort of get rid of negative emotions. You need to face them and you need to deal with them. I think that's a very um powerful message, and I think there's a lot of really good. Yeah, I think the film is very good at telling that story. I think when it focuses on that part of the story, I think it's very, very good. I just think,
Yeah.
yeah, it's very messy, logically there are some problems. Like, why don't they just send the core memories back up through the memory sucking machine that they send the Gone commercial through? Like they never, which I understand to a degree, but it's also like it was a bit noticeable and such. Like, well, you could just do that, and that would save you a lot of hassle. And that's just from like a strict writing point, and narrative point. But yeah, yeah. On the whole, I think it's a very, very solid film. I think. Um, I've got a question for you, Harry. That I don't know if I know the answer to this question or not, but I'm interested to get your thoughts on this. When you were a kid, were you scared of clowns?
No, no, I wasn't. I was never
Hmm.
scared of clowns. Although I was like 14 when that killer clown thing was like. Remember
Oh,
the
when
killer
it
clown thing
came
back in
out,
like
yeah,
2017 or whatever? And
yeah, yeah,
everyone was
yeah.
dressing
I
up as
remember
killer
that.
clowns. I was scared of
Yeah,
being chased with a machete, but not by a clown, just by anyone.
yeah,
It's just these people happen to be clowns. But like, I was never scared of
yeah.
clowns.
Mm. I've yeah. I don't. I'm trying to think if I was ever like scared of clowns. I guess when I was like 7 or 8, but that was just because horror films with clowns were scary to me. So I think I might have found them scary. I might not have found all clowns scary. But it's weird that the clowns are sort of a thing. Like, I feel like clowns are sort of not a
Scary thing.
yeah, and they're not a done thing. Like, you don't see them at children's birthday parties. So if I never
Not in
know.
Australia anyway.
Yeah, I don't ever remember like going to a kid's birthday party and there was a clown there. I
I don't think
remember
I've
I
ever
went to
seen
a
a
party.
clown in real life, like a real clown. I don't think ever.
I feel like I've been to the circus before. I feel like I must have seen one at the
Oh
circus,
yeah, but I've never been to the
but that doesn't really
circus.
count. Yeah, no, but at
Yeah, you're
parties
going
like
to a place where clowns will be. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. But I've never seen them at like a birthday party. Like if we'd have balloons there, it wouldn't be a clown doing it. It would just be some guy, like a normal looking guy without face
He
paint
could
and
be a
everything on.
clown. Yeah.
It could be, but he didn't have the appearance of a clown. Yeah, I think which I think I like. Again, I think it's a very the film, the way that the film sort of looks at this whole idea of like, yeah, joy is just trying to suppress the negative emotions, and I think I don't know if I want to say everyone's related to it, but I feel like a lot of people have sort of related to that. And I feel like, to be honest, I feel like that's more of a thing you get as you get older. I feel like the older you get, you're more likely to try and suppress. I don't know what. Well, I guess it's sort
What
of like a
joy?
case like yeah. Well, like you
Well, I
try and
don't think.
suppress.
I think it's less about suppressing joy and more about like I don't know, just more affected. Like I feel like sadness has or in this they call it sadness, but really it's just fucking like depression. It has I don't know. It's just much more apparent. You see a lot more.
Mm,
The older you get, the smarter you get. The more you see, the more it makes you sad. Because the world, it ain't all joy. And
mm.
when you get to an age where you start to realize that, is when you go like, okay. So then it feels like you're suppressing joy more, but I guess you just see less joy.
Yeah.
I don't think it's like
That.
an active choice to suppress.
Yeah. No, that's not. Yeah, I think that's a fair point. I do think some people do try and ignore their negative emotions and try and and not. No, I don't know. Like not a lot of people. I don't think. I don't know, of course, but I think there are definitely some people who don't. In fact, I know people who've tried to not focus on negatives and try and just present
Sort of,
themselves as happy,
yeah,
and thus they sort of ignore bad things that happen to them. And I'm like, that's not like you need to
healthy.
acknowledge when shit goes wrong. Like, you can't just pretend everything's all right because sometimes it's not.
Yeah,
And there's nothing wrong with that,
no,
with
no, because
acknowledging that things are a problem.
yeah, yeah, and this, yeah, and this film sort of, I don't know. I feel like I mean, I'm keen to see what the second one goes with because I'm assuming at least Riley is aged up.
Yeah, it's been. Yeah, a while since.
It's been 9 years.
Inside Out.
9 years
9
since the film
years
came out.
since we had the first Inside Out come out. It was a big deal. Like, people fucking love Inside Out. It was the 7th highest grossing film of 2015, which is, pretty just pretty solid. It did, how much did it do? It made $857 million in 2015, which is pretty good. Just
That's
below,
pretty good.
yeah, just below Spectre. It did
Guardians
880. Yeah,
Did
well, so here's
Guardians
the
come
top
out
10 highest
2015
grossing.
or 2016?
2014. Okay, so here's the highest grossing films
2014.
of 2015. Yeah. So number 10, The
Yeah.
Martian, 630 million.
Oh, I love that film. I love The Martian. Okay.
It's of The Hunger Games Mockingjay Part 2. That doesn't surprise me. It's the last Hunger Games film, or it was. Anyway, Mission Impossible Rogue Nation. That doesn't surprise me either. Inside Out, Spectre. Fair enough. People like James Bond. And then this top 5 all made over $1 billion. Minions.
Of course. I actually like that film.
Avengers Age of Ultron.
Yep.
Furious 7.
Yep.
Jurassic World. Star Wars.
Yep.
The Force Awakens. So that's a pretty solid.
It's a stacked
big.
year.
That's a pretty stacked year.
It's like a lot of it's big for like Disney IPs.
I mean, the only films of those that aren't IPs are The Martian and Inside Out. And Inside Out is a Pixar film, so it does have a bit of a leg up. But yeah, the Martian is like the only film that's really not got, like, it's not an
that's
IP.
Not part of a series.
It's not part of a series. It's based on a book, but that's not really an IP per se. It's not. It's not a franchise IP. It's its own thing. It's just adapting.
It's like an adapted screenplay. Yeah, like it's.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, no, and fair play to The Martian. We're not talking about The Martian, but I love The Martian.
You're a big Matt Damon fan.
I'm a massive. How can you not love Matt Damon? He's okay. Anyway, yeah.
And Inside Out was also nominated for Best Animated Feature Film at the Oscars, which it did win, beating Anomalisa, which I think is a better film personally. Beat Boy in the World, which I have seen. It beat Shaun the Sheep movie, which is a
how dare it? Shaun the Sheep movie is. I love Shaun the Sheep. I have not seen the film, but love the show.
The film's great, actually. The film is surprisingly very good. It's a genuinely really great film, and Inside Out also beat When Marnie Was There. And the film was also nominated for Best Original Screenplay, which Pixar used to have happen a lot. Like, Pixar films used to get nominated for Best Original Screenplay a lot of the time. I think Ratatouille might have. I feel like Finding Nemo might have. Part of me feels like Up got nominated as.
Up. Did Wall-E?
I'm having a look now. Okay, so Toy Story got nominated. So that was the first one. Then none of these are Pixar films. None of these are Pixar films yet. Yeah, Finding Nemo is nominated. The Incredibles was nominated. That's fair enough. It's a very, very good nomination. Ratatouille was nominated. Wall-E was nominated. Up was nominated. I think Toy Story 3 was nominated, but because it's a sequel, it's Best Adapted Screenplay, which is very strange to me. And Inside Out, I think Inside Out was the last Pixar film to get a screenplay nomination, which is strange because I feel like Soul is sort of in that similar bracket as well. Of it's not the same as Soul, but it's like it's got some great ideas to it, and it just feels like it has the makings of a screenplay nomination at the Oscars. Yeah, I think the film, Inside Out, it does a really good job of, like, again, when it goes for the emotional moment. I honestly wish that it didn't try and do the comedic stuff as well, because it does. That actually feels like it takes away a bit too much when it's trying.
Yeah.
I feel like Marvel is at times a bit of a victim of that. Like, a film, I know you hate this film, but Spider-Man Far From Home, to me,
just the worst fucking film ever. Just literally, like, I would rather poo in my hands and clap.
I think Far From Home.
Watch that again.
as much as I like Far From Home, it did at times feel like it was trying a bit too hard to be comedic, which at times did
Really?
distract from the film. Well,
Do you think?
that's how I
Do you
felt when
think, like, maybe drone striking my entire class on a bus? Haha, funny, goofy moment. No. You almost satellite drone striked. Like, okay, that's insane.
If you want
Sorry, I
more of
hate that film.
If you want more of Harry's rant on Spider-Man Far From Home, go listen to our second Spider-Man episode we did last year, because Harry really goes into his
How much I
problems
hate
with
that
this film.
film.
Like there's a
It's a
big
bad film.
rant
Well,
about
it's
all
less
of his
that the
issues.
film is bad. The film's bad, but it's more so
I
how
mean, it's the
much
problem with the
I
Tom
adore
Holland.
Spider-Man as a character.
Yeah, go listen to that. That gives a full idea of where we land, because I land very differently in regards to those Spider-Man films. Yeah, I just think this film. It's a very good film. I do really enjoy it. I have never truly gotten why it's considered like one of
Well,
Pixar's best. Like I really enjoy it. I think it's a really solid film. It's just there's a few too many issues with it. And I know people who would give it like 9 out of 10, 10 out of 10. And I think like it's very good. It's not that
it's
good. Like it's
at least for me, and to jump to the end, it's a light to decent 7.
I'd go a little bit higher than that. I'd give it an
Seven and a
8 out of
half.
10. I bumped
Yeah.
it down from a 9. I had it down as a 9 out of 10, but I think that it was it's just it's very it's a very flawed film. As much as I like it, like I do genuinely quite like it, and I feel like I've sounded a bit negative, but I think on the whole, it's voice acting I've already touched on. I think the voice acting is fantastic. It's a beautiful looking movie. Like Pixar, even in their bad films, they are on the whole beautifully animated. Like Pixar is like the studio for animation, I think. I mean, I know Harry, you're more of a DreamWorks guy, but I know you're more partial to DreamWorks.
Yeah, I prefer DreamWorks' animation style and also their storytelling and pretty much all of their films, besides Monsters Inc. and The Incredibles and Cars and Finding Nemo and Bugs Life and Toy Story.
I
And
will say
Wall-E
this:
and Ratatouille.
Puss in Boots 2 is maybe contender for like best animated movie ever. Just like in terms of how it look. Well, it's up there because the Spider-Verse films look fantastic as well. But Puss in Boots 2,
Yeah.
just the animation style of Puss in Boots 2 is fucking incredible. But I think, with Inside Out, it's just like I've always really enjoyed it. I just think it is an overrated film. It's like logically, I think it falls apart a bit when it's trying to do some of the stuff it's doing. It tries to be funny. I think also I love the concept of the idea of the characters are emotions. Like I think that's really cool. I do think though, with only having 5 emotions, the film does sort of feel very
Yeah.
restricted in what it can do, though, which is the problem, I think. And I
Yeah.
understand the whole they can't have too many characters because then the film will become too bloated. Like I completely understand that, and I think that's a fair point to make. But I think the film just sort of it does suffer a bit because it's just got this very sort of binary. We've written 5 emotions as characters, and we have to stick to that because then it sort of ignores so many more emotions because But I think so. The idea is great. It's just doing this as a film. I think it is limited, and having 5 emotions does limit
Yeah.
you somewhat in what you can do with the story and everything. But like I'm sounding very negative on a film that I've given an 8 out of 10 to. I do really quite like it. I think there's some really great stuff in it. I do like that the mum and dad, like their sort of head emotion is different. Like the mum's main emotion is sadness, the dad's main emotion is anger, which is really
That's
quite.
really
It does create a dark
conf-
implication, though.
Is everything at home okay for Riley? Like,
yeah, because I understand the
that's the
concept of
stereotyping. Yeah,
yeah, exactly. The whole Riley's lead emotion is happiness, is joy. Like, I get that. That makes a lot of sense for that age, but yeah, the
Yeah.
implications that it creates with the mum and the dad, who also don't look anything like her, by the way. Like, she's got blonde hair and blue eyes, and they've got brown hair and brown
Yeah, I'd
eyes.
be getting the DNA test if I was the dad. I kind of understand why he's angry now.
It's not. I'll say this: it's not like top 10 all time for me, Pixar, but it's like top 15
Yeah,
Pixar.
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
that's
No,
the best
it's
way I
it's
can
so
put
much
it.
better than it's a lot better than other stuff they've come out with, but it's still not in my top favorite ones.
Yeah,
So I gave it a
I'm just
7.
looking here. It's number 11th on my Pixar ranking. It's just outside of that top 10, so that's pretty
I should put
good
together a
going.
Pixar ranking. I'd see how I'd go.
It's
There are a
years.
lot of Pixar films I haven't seen though. Like I haven't seen like Luca, Turning. Like I did see Turning Red, unfortunately.
Yeah, Turning Red wasn't that
I
good.
haven't seen Elemental. I saw Lightyear, but I feel like there's a couple I haven't seen.
We're tying this episode into the release of Inside Out 2, which is out this week. And you were saying at the beginning of this that you hadn't seen a trailer. Like, you don't know what this film is, do you? Like, you're very
No, but I'm
out of the
assuming
loop.
like I knew that they were making a second one, and when I knew
Mhm.
that, I was like, oh, it's probably going to be like they're probably going to bring in like anxiety and like stress and like things like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well,
It,
so
it, it
yeah,
seems like a pretty vanilla idea to go with. Like, yeah,
yeah, no, I definitely think it is. With how much the first film is like considered this like brilliant idea, which to be fair, I think it is. Like, making a film about emotions, I think that's a great idea.
yeah,
It's
especially like
just
giving them human qualities. Yeah,
I feel like Inside Out though is one of those Pixar films that I don't know if we needed a sequel to. You know,
yeah,
like
yeah. I think it was fine.
Wall-E, we never need a sequel to Wall-E. Like, we're
Oh, please, please, never.
we don't need a sequel to Wall-E. We don't need a sequel to Up. We don't need a sequel to. There's probably Soul. Soul doesn't need a sequel. Are these the ones that don't need I mean, Finding Nemo, you didn't need a sequel because it's like,
But Finding Dory
but
wasn't that bad. Like, it wasn't
Finding
great.
Dory was
But
Finding Dory was okay. Ratatouille, we don't need a sequel to Ratatouille. Please don't do that. We don't need another Ratatouille film. We don't need a sequel to Coco. Like, but yeah, Inside Out. I just don't think you needed a sequel. So here is the premise, as is listed on the Wikipedia page. Inside Out 2 returns to the mind of newly minted teenager Riley just as headquarters is undergoing a sudden demolition to make room for something entirely unexpected. New emotions. Joy, sadness, anger, fear, and disgust, who've long been running a successful operation by all accounts, aren't sure how to feel when anxiety shows up, and it looks like she's not alone. So that's what
okay, so I was
we're
like fucking bang. I was bang on. All right.
yeah.
Well,
I mean, that's
I'll
the
be
only way
honest.
you can.
I don't think I'm gonna go watch it. When it comes out to streaming, I might. But who cares? Like, I don't care.
Yeah, I mean, I
Like,
probably will just for the purposes of this show.
yeah,
Um, but I mean, yeah, but that's more just so I can see it as soon as I can, and so I don't have to like put it off, and I can just be like, "Fuck it,
yeah.
it's out today. I'll go see it now." So yeah, I mean, I don't know if you know who's in the film, but Maya Hawke is Anxiety, who
Okay.
I've got I like her. I've got a bit of a thing for her. I think she's. I think Io Adibri as Envy,
Mm,
who's like a big fucking deal
Envy.
right now with like the bear, and I hope I've pronounced her name correctly, by the way, because I feel like that's how it's meant to be pronounced, but I'm really concerned I said it wrong, and now I'm worried. I'm gonna
What?
definitely pronounce this name wrong. Adele Exarchopoulos. Oh, I
As
can't.
long as there's no Aquafina, I'm fine.
There is no Aquafina as far as I understand, which is
Yes, I'm gonna
good
watch it. No.
because Aquafina is very uh grating. Anu as the fuck? How do you pronounce that word? It's spelled Ennui. What the fuck? How do you pronounce? Ennui, I guess, who is a new boredom emotion. Why not just call the character Boredom? Like, what the fuck? What? It's really weird.
Yeah.
And then they've got Paul Walter Hauser as Embarrassment, which, first of all,
but I
that's
feel like
an
that
emotion.
kind of comes under fear.
I guess so, yeah. And also, are you telling me that only teenagers start feeling embarrassed? Like, that's ridiculous.
Dude, I
like, kids have fucking...
I never felt embarrassed. I am no shame.
I felt more embarrassed when I was a kid, like before I was a teenager, to be honest. I don't know why, I just did. And then, yeah, some other people, there's June Squibb is playing a character called Nostalgia, which is
okay.
interesting choice. I don't know.
I'll be honest, William. I've checked out of this second film already. Did too many emotions.
Yeah, I don't know what any of this is going to be interesting. I just don't care though. Like, here's the thing: I just have no investment in this film. First of all, we didn't need it. There was no reason for this film to be made. Like, I don't think the first film. The first film does sort of leave that bit where it's like there's the puberty button that they're gonna press, but I'm like, that's just a joke. Like, that's how at the end of one of the first Toy Story film, there's like a Mrs. Potato Head. Like, that doesn't mean we're gonna build the second film around that. It's just we've made a second film and it's like, oh, we referenced there's a Mrs. Potato Head, so we've got to have her be a character. Like, this is, I just don't know. And like, Pete Docter's not directing this one, and he's not that involved in terms of the writing. Like, the director, I don't know, is Kelsey Mann. She's not. This is her first time directing like a feature film, which is, not necessarily a bad thing, but she's like a story. She's done like she's often involved in like the writing, I guess it looks like to me. And she's been with Pixar since 2013, so she's been doing it for a while. And then the writers, one of these guys doesn't have a Wikipedia page, which is very annoying, but one of the writers is Meg LaFau. She did
I'm not
write,
even gonna.
Yeah, she wrote the first film though, so they've got one of the writers, and she's credited as being on the story for Captain Marvel and Onward. Yeah, they're not instilling me with confidence, but I'm not like...
We'll see.
I don't
when
think
it
it'll
comes
be
out, really
bad. I just think it doesn't need to exist. That's my main point. It doesn't need to exist. We don't need this. I would be much happier with Pixar just making original films, but I think there's like an interview or something recently with like Bob Iger where he basically said, no, we're just gonna keep doing like sequels and stuff, which is very, very concerning to me because I don't like when Pixar does sequels because they're often not good.
Bad. Except Monsters University, but that's a prequel. But yeah,
and Toy Story sequels. To be fair, those
Toy
are
Story,
fine.
yeah.
I'll excuse those, but yeah, that's pretty much it. I hope that you listening have enjoyed this week's episode. It's a bit quicker this week. But that's fine. Last week's episode was like an hour and a half or so. It was a pretty long episode last week. But next few weeks is looking like it's going to be some franchises. So it's going to be probably some longer episodes for the next coming few weeks, some franchise stuff which I'm interested in covering. So hopefully that's what we'll do over the next few weeks. So I hope you have enjoyed. Harry, thank you for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
And yeah, I hope you've all enjoyed listening, and I'll see you all in the next one. Goodbye.